Because I need
I'm just gonna leave it alone. She's tired.
Oh, invocation this evening. Want to go down the line?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Perfect. I want to do it. I have the printed one.
Okay.
Then we loved it.
What's that?
Yeah.
We're almost live. I guess we're just waiting on Dean.
Yeah, I guess. Sandra, is Danny going this evening? He should be here. I mean,
It is,
it
there's
is, but
some clock. Yeah, we're just
trying. Yeah. Unless there's something else.
this is short. They got rid of the clock.
Sir, if you walk in late, you can't be here.
Sandra, should we wait for Danny or do I think it's?
I think I just heard him coming through that door.
Okay.
He is here, let's look at each other.
When I was my 20s, I was went to Baptist college now, and so they asked me to do prayer. Say along. And she was like, yeah, very good prayer. Thanks. Everybody wants to eat.
It's getting cold.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, he's okay.
So I got to tell you, my wife did not want to come back. She said, I like my house. I like where I live. I'm going to tell you, if you died tomorrow, you would be ugly.
I don't blame her.
Oh, man, it should. You got Barcelona was fabulous. And then we went all over Italy. It's really nice.
Was that your first visit?
Oh, no, we've never been to Barcelona, but we've been to Italy like 4 times.
Oh, okay. But this was just,
The weather was just like today for 2 weeks straight. You get one.
Hello. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Before we officially get started, we're going to start with an invocation this evening. Commissioner Porter has agreed to lead us.
Yes. This evening we gather together and we pray for wisdom, for strength, and for courage to do what's right and what's good for all citizens. May we put the interests of others above our own interests. May we act with love for the common good. May we be good neighbors, recognizing your image, Lord, in every person here. Amen.
Amen. All right, we call the meeting to order at 6:03. Start with our pledges. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I take the flag. I pledge allegiance to one state, under God, one indivisible.
Okay. We have only missing one member this evening, so we do have a quorum. Exciting. We'll go ahead and get started real quick. So I guess actually first, is there anything that we need to discuss before the meeting starts?
The applicant for item two, the special use permit withdrew right
Okay.
before the meeting, so we won't be doing that item.
Okay. Thank you. One other thing I wanted to address with the commission this evening as well. So last city council meeting, they changed the order slightly of how people talk and present. I actually really liked the order. So this evening, since it's just one item, there's not going to be that much of a change. But for the future meetings, I really want to copy this as well. So the city presents, the applicant then presents, and then they do public comment before we actually address any questions or anything of that matter. I really enjoyed that format. I think when we hear public comment, it would allow us to think of other questions and things that we can ask the applicant after that period of time. So going forward, we'll switch to that model as well. So let's go ahead and get started. 2.1, consider approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes from October 2nd, 2025. My only thought was I thought the conditions weren't all the way spelled out for 2.4, but I don't know how important that really is given city council's vote on the matter later. That was the only thing I noticed.
What about it?
It was missing some of the differences in the tree.
Yeah, that there's two things that was missing that I saw. That was, one was we did have a discussion and make a decision on the tree swap, the size, and the other thing I think we were,
And the tree surveys of only being in the disturbance area was another one that was missing. So again, I don't know how
No, I think we
necessary.
need it, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I'll do the motion, but real quick, you want the tree survey, the disturbance area, and all of
Let me look at it.
see, I think the other one was the width.
Was it the,
It was 3 4-inchers instead of 2 6 inches.
Yeah, 3-4 inches. Yes, right.
So then there's some things too in their application that they took out. So like one of the things that they took out was like the dedicated parkland. So I don't know if we need to include that also.
no, because
In
that's
that-
not, I don't think we made a recommendation on that. They just removed it from the application.
Okay. So then the other thing with that was in it was the tree replacement being able to have the 4 inches as long as all the inches were
Okay.
Yeah.
there's-
Total inches, as long as we got the same total inches.
for the street cul-de-sac, steep slope. And I didn't know, might need to reread the notes. Because the steep slope was only for the road construction area.
Correct.
I don't know if that was clear in that either.
Wasn't. We said,
Okay, I see. Okay, I was going to say that we did allow them to change the width on the street, but it's under here, under
Yeah.
A. Yeah,
so we did right away plus 50 feet, I believe.
Right.
Is that right? For steep slopes clearance?
It
Or we didn't
was,
do up to the house?
no, yeah, we didn't do driveways, we just
Right, we
did
just said
just roads.
disturbance plus 50 feet outside the right of way.
Yeah.
So like bring it up to grade. Okay. That would be, there's 3 items there really, we'll call them. So we got tree survey, 3 to 4 instead of 2 to 6, and steep slopes. Construction 50 feet right away, outside the right of way. Okay. Anything else, Chelsea?
Was it?
Sorry, I'll make a motion. Make a motion that we approve the planning and zoning minutes for October 2nd, 2025, with amendments to item 2.4, adding 3 separate conditions that we added, which were tree survey only in the area of the disturbance. The second being instead of 2 6-inch trees, we'd be allowed to have 3 4-inch trees. And then the third one, steep slope, allowing disturbance within 4 steep slopes within 50 feet of the right of way construction of the roadway.
A second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Then we are skipping to 2 and directly onto 2.3. Discuss and consider recommendation to the City Council of the City of Bulverde, Texas for an ordinance amending Chapter 3 Building Regulations, City of Bulverde Code of Ordinances by amending Article 308.102 permitted sign structures and general regulations to determine the size, number, and location of attached signs.
Members of the commission, almost, I don't know, 9 months ago or so, the city council tasked staff with bringing forward a series of amendments to update and modernize the sign code. We've been able to address that just as we've had time, workload allowing. And so we haven't had many. We had one back in July dealing with how to measure signs. And we're still kind of clearing out the underbrush on administration of the code. Tonight we're discussing attached signs on buildings, which is just one of dozens of categories of signs we have in the code. Mainly, the main things we as staff want to touch on tonight are we'd like to recommend that we establish separate sections of the code to deal with single user buildings and multi-tenant buildings. Right now, it's a mishmash in one paragraph, and it's difficult to tell when we stop talking about one and start talking about the other, and it seems to switch back and forth throughout the code. So we just want to take that out of the current regulations and just clarify how they apply to different sections. We want the commission, secondly, to consider. Right now, the code requires that all of the area you're allocated for a sign be located in one place in one sign on the front of the building. Staff recommends that you'll consider allowing the applicant to allocate that signage however they want to, in as many signs or as few signs as they want. I don't know that that there's much benefit to the city in giving the volume of variances we've approved. Telling everybody that you get one sign only. Some people would like to have 2. Some people would like to have 3. I don't know that we're concerned how they divvy up the area they're given, but maybe we are. If you are, you absolutely should speak up and let us know that. My perception over the years is that there's not. The more of the concern is with just overall how much area they're given, not necessarily where it's located or that it all be located in only one spot. So that's the second one. We've had the code, as I mentioned before, is old, and it assumes a certain standard development will take place, mainly when we're talking about multi-tenant buildings. They're all going to be strip center retail with all businesses facing the primary street frontage. Or they only have one street frontage. We're starting to see more and more developments with multi-tenant buildings that are not like that. For instance, the medical office in Singing Hills up in the northeastern corner has one side facing the street and one side facing the wastewater treatment plant. It's hard to allocate the signage for multiple tenants if they're not facing the street, because everything we have presumes that all tenants are facing the street. We also had an issue with the building over on 46 Parkway where they have entrances and tenants on the back and no street frontage back there. And so we'd like to just clarify that if you're a multi-tenant building and you're not facing a street, you can still have a sign over your tenant space. So that's just clarifying that. We've had an issue with a loophole. We only regulate signage on the outside surface of the building. A number of businesses have come in and start putting sign appliques on the inside of their building facing out. which massively increases their sign area. But since it's not a sign on the outside of a building, it's not regulated under our code. So we'd like to clarify that the code applies to signage that's visible from the outside of the building. In addition to that, there's still a couple of references to regulations and restrictions on letter height. We removed that from the code 15 years ago, and they took the paragraph that regulates letter height out, but didn't take all the references to it. And so that's just a recommendation for cleaning up. It's confusing, but it doesn't actually apply to anything, so it's not a problem, but it can be confusing for folks. So that's what staff is recommending that you consider. There was also a notion that if the issue of how much sign area the city gives you wants to be revisited, it can be. I don't know if there's any initiative on the commission to do that, but this would be the time to talk about that. I've noted on here that under our code, if you have the biggest building you can have, because the way we allocate signage is you get 3/4 of a square foot for every linear foot of the building up to a maximum of 200 feet, which is not that clear, but that's the way we do it. So right now, the biggest building you can have would have a sign of 2.14% if you did the maximum sign you could have. On the largest building, now that scales down, gets the percentage grows the smaller the building is. If you took the smallest practical building, and in this one we used the example of the On the Grind, the little coffee shop in front of the old HEB, you could have up to 5.3% of your building street fronting facade as a sign. Recently, we've granted some variances just for color. Academy would have been allowed 2.1% if you express it in a percentage. The ordinance doesn't express it in a percentage, but I felt like it would be easier to understand if I expressed it as a percentage. Their signage would be allowed to be 2.14% of the frontage of the building, but they were granted a variance for 5.1%. O'Reilly's kind of a middle-sized building. They would have been allowed 3.9%. Variance was granted for 6.3%. Then On the Grind themselves also have a variance. They would have been allowed 5.3, 5.36, but 10.1% was the variance they were granted. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions you might have. I'm not really anticipating taking this to the next council meeting now that this is going to be the only item that would go. So we have a little bit of time to chew on this. If you'll have any questions or want more information, we can work on it and bring back more if you give us direction. If there's something you want to talk about, or if this is relatively straightforward, you can make a recommendation. We'll still probably take it to the December council meeting. Have you got any questions for me?
Where did the template for the ordinances come from? Was it, did we use another city or?
I'm sure we used another city, but this was back in 2010 range when this was adopted. So I'm not the current version, and it's heavily based on the previous version. So I know a lot of our ordinances came from Dalworthington Gardens. It's possible it came from there. I don't know why we went to that well so many times, but thanks.
Before we ask any other questions, is there any public comment on this matter this evening?
No one signed up for them.
Since we have such a small audience, does anyone want to speak this evening? Okay, we're gonna close public comment at 6:17. Okay, go ahead.
So, why did we give such large variances at, A, B, and C? The way it looked?
I don't know. Each one of those was, the applicant came in and asked for it, and the commission and the council felt that it was scaled well to the building. I mean, on Academy, if y'all remember, you'll maybe take several of the extra signs they wanted off, leaving them just with the main primary sign. So they could have, if the change we had recommended tonight was adopted, letting them break it up however they wanted to, they could have scaled the main sign down and put the other signs, along the front, but it would have eaten out of their same pool. They would be almost unrecognizable though, using our standard sizes, so, unless you're standing in the parking lot.
And on O'Reilly's one, yeah, that was on the Academy one. And remember, I think we were talking about, they wanted to put, sporting goods, guns, so, entryway on the back and everything. And we told them, well, we don't need that check work, checkerboard type thing. I know on O'Reilly's, the argument there was, and I think Ted was in on this one, was they were sitting up on the hill away from the highway, and it's a fast moving highway, and they wanted a little bit larger sign because they were not directly, they were on a curb, not directly on the highway. And I actually was the one that made the motion. I said, I think that sounds fair. And it did sound fair. But to go back to your point of allowing them to use multiple signs instead of one sign, the first thing I thought of was if we hold them to just one sign and don't allow them to break it up, we'll start having variances where they go, oh, for safety's sake, we need to have entrance and exit, or we need to have this or that. If we allow them to use just the total amount of square footage and split it up any way they see fit, nobody can come in and ask for a variance for safety's sake, because we can say, well, you have an allocation. How you pick safety over marketing is up to you.
I do think that if we go this route, because right now with the number of signs, that second sign is allowed to be 25% of the primary sign. So I think our allocation, the 3/4 of a square foot per linear foot should be increased to also accommodate kind of that, the square footage that they're losing from that second sign. Does that make sense?
Well, the second, you're talking about, we allow a secondary sign over on a different facade if there's a public entrance over there. So that's basic, that wouldn't really be affected, because we're basically talking about on the one facade, because you're only allowed signage on your primary street facing facade, and then you're allowed that 25% on a different one if there's a.
So that second one wouldn't be part of the main square footage
So we're
allocation?
basically talking about, you're getting like, for instance, I think the largest sign you can have is 150 square feet on a 200-foot wide building. So you can distribute that, let's say, in 3 signs and 50 square feet each. That's not going to keep you from having a 30-some-odd square foot sign on the side if you have another public entrance over there.
Okay.
We're talking on a per street facing facade basis. For most businesses, that's one.
Didn't I hear you say that you mentioned the applicant could put this on any side of the building now, if we adopt this?
That wasn't my intention to say that. So it would be on the facade they're allowed, instead of just having one sign on that facade, they could allocate it anywhere on that facade.
Got it. Couple questions, Danny. Where did we land on sign calculation?
We landed on,
Or where did council land?
the council landed on, it's calculated based on the smallest, there's a word for rectangles, I forget what it's called, polygon, that the sign can fit in. And then we take the surface area of that.
Of squares?
Be squares, rectangles, I think circles or triangles.
Okay.
I forget the geometry word we use.
So I guess my question is that, how's that gonna affect those signs versus current signs?
They're gonna have to fit, they're gonna be measured the same way. So if
So that we really didn't increase how much signage you
No.
can have with what was passed?
no, that probably reduced the frontiers of how much you could have.
Okay, that's
because-
why, that's why I'm getting that, because I think this is my, what you were getting. I think like on the grind is probably about, I think it maybe needs to be a little bit more, but the slope of the line needs to be steeper. Because like this doesn't look right to me.
And it is possible we could move away from the square footage linking to the linear footage and go with a building percentage. Instead, I know, like Bernie uses a 10% of the face of the building, which is much bigger than we would ever allow. The most we get to under the code is 5% for a small building.
Yeah, I just think like you know, like as you get bigger, I think the sign is detrimentally smaller.
It gets smaller as a percentage.
We're like,
the
I think-
larger
I
your
think
building
that
is.
one looks great, because we were talking, you think you brought it up, right? Like talking about like, does it look proportional, right?
Right.
Like this doesn't look proportional, that looks
It's not
proportional,
proportional, yeah, it's not.
you know, or whatever. So, you know, it just, the slope of the line needs to be increased faster to allow a bigger sign. I think that's really what we're getting hit with, right? And if you look at it, you go, the county was 5%, O'Reilly's was 6.3, right? You know, so it's kind of like, okay, as the building's getting smaller, it's getting higher. So it'll almost be like 5 to 10 versus 2.1 to 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like you said, I'm amenable on how to calculate that, but I think the upper end needs bigger. Because I mean, HEB was the same way. I mean, we allowed a ton of HEB.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever. So
And so there's other ways to do that. You could at least balance it out by having it as a set percentage of the facade. That way, at least they would look similar.
and we would just cap it at a certain.
And you could cap it at a certain size. I mean, there's lots of ways to cut this cake. And so I didn't know if there would be interest in pursuing that, but if there is, we can try and come back with.
If you can bring us back like 1 or 2 options of what-
Some ways some other cities do it. One way is percentage. Some people have a higher, like I think Fredericksburg gives you 1.5 feet instead of ours 0.75 for every linear feet, and they just give you a bigger.
Yeah, that's what I mean, because that would make your, you know, that is the slope of that line, so it would make it
Yeah.
twice the size, basically, on the big building and the small building. You're getting very little extra. So I mean, I like that. I think, at least that's what I would want to see. And then, so for item 1, I hear you saying, however, you know, what happens when it goes from, you know, a lot of retail buildings, sometimes they're single occupancy, and then they become multi-occupancy later on down the road. So how would we treat that?
Multiple tenants are based on their store frontage and entrances. So if you became multi-tenant with no, like a little pocket mall or something, I'm not sure you'd probably need a variance for that.
Okay.
It's hard to predetermine.
Well, I'm just saying, like, suppose it was a multi-tenant place, but only one tenant was there, it would be a single tenant place, right?
Yeah,
And then they
well,
came in and split it down the middle and say, we're gonna create 2 small restaurants or something like that. I'm just curious how we would view that, like if we do separate the code out. You know, it is a single to begin with, or multi-bingo that it comes single, or. You know,
well, if it starts out single and you try to make it multi-tenant, you've already taken all of the sign allocation for the primary, then those tenants are not going to get signs.
But if they rip that sign down.
If they rip that sign down,
Then you
then
would just consider it multi.
and it's based on your proportion. Right now, you take the amount of the building that you have in your tenant space. If you're 25% of the building, then you get kind of 25%.
So you're gonna make that classification on the sign application rather than what the building was originally.
Yeah, so if they come in and say we're tearing down the original sign and transforming it, then
You
yeah,
know, 2 spaces, you would just go, okay, great, well done.
as long as they say this tenant's got 60%, that tenant's got
I
40%.
just don't want it to be this hurdle if we originally set it up this way, that we're changing the use and then we have a.
No, but like we have problems with multi-floor multi-tenant. What do you do then?
Well, and that's sort of where I'm going.
Yeah, we have problems with that now. That one building over there and the one in Singing Hills, well, it's covered by, Singing Hills has a special
Right.
set of rules in addition to the code that help them. But we have like a 3-story building on 46 Parkway that started out as more of a few tenants, and now they're getting tenants on every floor, tenants on the front side, tenants on the back, and there's no real way without a variance to accommodate all those tenants because they've got one entrance and a lobby. So they don't have the traditional entrance for all the tenants on the building. So how do you deal with signage for tenants that you access through a lobby and not through outside area? And we don't have any way to accommodate that today without the variance process. But right now the code's very difficult to read. It starts off talking about lease spaces and multi-tenant, then it's all of the next sentence is about single, and then it goes back to talking about lease spaces again, and you kind of have to pull out your talisman and decide which sentence applies to multi-tenant or which applies to single user buildings.
Well, and I agree with the signage that's inside the building they shouldn't be able to put up signs inside that you see from outside.
Or
It
if you do,
starts-
it's counted against your time.
Or it should be counted against your
Yes.
percentage.
Well, I think the banks are the ones that are getting that.
The banks are doing it, Academy had asked about it and, kind of discouraged it, but theoretically, they could come and put all kinds of signs on their
Yeah.
window space.
Right.
As long as it's on the inside, we don't have anything to say about
And is there, just thoughts on this as well? Do we need to classify street facing facade, or can we just let them determine what their front facade is,
That's a
depending
good
on where the sign is, or wherever the door is?
So right now, if you're like on a corner lot, we let you pick the primary and then you get the 25% for the secondary. Chase, I think, chose 46 as their primary. Actually, I don't remember which one they
Does it
chose.
say that in the code?
I'm sorry?
Does it say that in the code? That you're allowed to pick your primary?
It's vague. It says
We
you
should
get
probably-
your primary and if you have a secondary entrance on another
We
street,
should probably clean that up.
yeah, we need to clean that up.
Just because, like, I don't want you going, well, I think this is your front, this is other, well, this is my front, and then you get into, just.
And we clean that up by saying that we could say that the applicant chooses, or we could say that the address where it's addressed is the
I mean,
primary.
Because I was thinking about, again, I don't know, they might be changing things, but the new, strips coming in that has
Yeah.
Jersey Mike's and stuff like that. I'm driving by and I'm like, where are their doors, right? So I think all the doors are gonna be on that back side instead of the front side. So what it looks like right now when I'm driving past it, because I can't see where the doors are,
I'm more
unless
thinking-
they're changing them later.
I'm really more thinking about that regional bank stuff, right, where they were asking for the additional monument sign.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can see that from the back road, you can see it from 46, you got the side road, there's like 3 roads.
Monument signs would be a whole discussion on it.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I think about that type of a
But think
building.
of the
that
building
close to
That's
streets.
being built there,
Mhm.
has tenants on both sides.
Mhm.
Now, they're fortunate that they have a road back there in Old Bernie Road.
Yeah, over.
That's Old Bernie. If they didn't, they'd have to get a variance for the
I mean-
signage for the people on the back.
In my opinion, right,
That's all
like,
I'm thinking, maybe we don't even say street facing, we just say primary and secondary
multi-tenants, For
facade.
multi-tenants, it's just gonna be over your front of
Front,
your
your
store,
entrance.
your storefront.
Right.
So if your
That's what I'm
storefront's on the back, now if you've got like a breezeway where there's some buildings where they've got an entrance on both sides, no, you're not gonna get another sign. Your FedEx is on this side and this side, no.
Yeah.
But, if you've got a FedEx and sandwich shop, then, they're each gonna get just allocated over there. It's not gonna be tied to street front.
I mean, me personally, I think business owners are pretty smart about where they wanna put their sign to get the most traffic.
Mhm.
I just think we should make them define a primary side, just whatever they say, they wanna put it on the back, and there's an alley back there. That's all
Yeah.
that.
Well, I'm
That
thinking about
could
like,
be your primary side if you want it.
like the Creekside offices, obviously that's multi-tenant, right? But their main entrance is in a parking lot. It's not on the street. So if they so choose to put it on the parking lot side versus the street side, I know that they have monument signs for that one. I was thinking like other kind of pieces that might come up later that have that same model, to where then they get to choose if they want it in front of their
I think
Door
most
or
people are
opposite?
gonna choose the highway frontage.
I mean, you pick the one that gets you the most
Yeah.
traffic, but that's what I'm saying.
And you get the smaller sign on the entrance.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have an entrance on the highway side, you wouldn't be able to put it there. So,
Yeah, I mean,
but most people don't have one.
we're talking about the main building that's right there between 46 and Bernie Road. Even if someone wanted to be just obstinate and put the larger sign on the opposite side, I mean, because there's all small signs on one side, say you wanted to catch somebody's eye and put a larger sign in with all the small signs on the back side or something. That's just one sign. That's not, and it's not gonna be an overwhelming sign because we're limiting it to a certain amount of space. I don't think there's a big problem there.
Well, and remember the amount of sign space, well, I say remember, I didn't actually mention it. The amount of space you're allocated is based on the speed limit of your facing right. So if you are on a 35-mile-an-hour road, 55-mile-an-hour road, you say, well, this 35 is my primary. You just really cut yourself off. At the knees there.
Yeah.
Because then your extra one's gonna be 25% of that smaller one.
Yeah.
But I guess you could do that.
Is that common for the speeds of the road to determine?
It is, it's an older, outdated mode of doing things, but a lot of cities still do it.
Okay.
Based on the idea that if you're driving faster, the sign needs to be bigger for you to actually see it. And if you're driving slower, a smaller sign will suffice. More
You know,
cities
you would
are
want the same
moving
size signs that you have on 281 on,
Yeah.
you know, coming downtown or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
but it's still done, and we do it.
I mean, is there a better way?
The alternative is really percentage. Those are the two main paradigms that I'm aware of that cities use. Just going on we don't care where this building's located, 15% or 5% is the scale that we want to see on our buildings, and that's it. And then other cities.
I like having two categories personally.
Let me ask another question. Are we talking, or is it in the code? We can put it in the code. We're just talking about single flat signs. We're not talking about digital signs, because that's going to be the next thing.
We don't allow digital, like moving signs.
Right, yeah.
They're prohibited under the code.
Okay, that's what I want to clarify that, because that's the next thing that's going to happen. Is we're going to start seeing digital signs on private businesses, because I'm already getting advertised for it.
We have dark sky ones, probably with a sign.
True, that's true too. Yeah, but
So I don't
yeah.
think that's something we probably ever want to allow.
Well, the advertisements I'm getting now, which I don't do these anymore, but I used to have a pharmacy, and it had a sign that said the weather's this, the temperature is that. Come in tomorrow for the big sale on so and so, and these are, if you got 4 of these in a row on one building, it's very distracting, and you can do a lot of different things as far as as far as the graphics are concerned. So I just wanted to make sure we were still talking about just plain flat signs, not digital signs. Okay.
So I think to summarize it, I mean, I think we're all for it. I think maybe fleshing it out a little bit more. I mean, I personally like the percentage of the whole facade versus 3/4 of a square foot to linear foot. Definitely agree with separating the single tenant versus multi-tenant. And obviously, removing all the references to the letters as well.
Yeah.
So
I think if you just bring us back something like this with whatever calculation you guys come up with, so you can maybe see 1 or 2. Again, I mean, off the cuff, I think that sign should be probably double the size it is.
So maybe somewhere
So
like
make
that.
it look right,
Yeah, so maybe somewhere between like that 5 and 10%, kind of what we're.
I mean, if you think about it, if you're looking at the academy sign, it would be like up here.
That's exactly what I see here. Yeah, the academy, just like that on academy would look pretty.
Yeah.
So maybe if you got that to 200 square feet versus, and just kind of see where that lands, and then if we can back into calculation. And then if you could bring it 2 for under 50, have it over and under for both, I think that'd be really good. Just so people are like, wow, the slower speed really doesn't look right or something. Do that too. I think that's all I would see. I think the rest of it's all pretty. Okay. But I think that we need to shake that out.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll polish that. We don't need a motion or anything tonight, and we'll be back next month with a little more info.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Danny. Okay, moving on to item 3. If there's any public comments not related to posted agenda items. A quick one. I think tomorrow is Mr. Bat's birthday, if I heard. So happy birthday, sir.
35?
35, 36.
Again.
Awesome. We are adjourned at 6:38. Thank you so much, everyone.
First time we was ago. Jeff. One bush is-
That was easy.
Easy.
Oh, okay.